Hello students, welcome back to my channel. In my previous video, I explained how changes in demand impacts the market equilibrium. Understanding how changes in supply affects market equilibrium is also vital for all economics students. It unveils how prices and resources are balanced, how it impacts buyers, sellers, and the overall economic welfare. By grasping this concept, you can predict and navigate real-world scenarios, be it technological advancements, natural disasters, or be it anything with confidence. As future economists, policymakers, or business leaders where I wish my students to be, mastering this topic empowers you to make informed decisions that contribute to economic prosperity worldwide. So without wasting any time further, let's get started. Now, when we talk about change in supply, we have two categories here. The first one is increase in supply and the other one is a decrease in supply. We will take a look at increase in supply first. So this is increase in supply. How it is identified? It is identified by a rightward shift of the supply curve. What are the factors that would lead to a rightward shift? You would have factors like increase in the number of firms producing the commodity, reduction in the cost of inputs, a reduction in the wages, a reduction in taxes. All these factors could contribute to an increase in supply. So when I say increase in supply, technically more is being supplied at each price point. So whether the price goes up or price goes down, more would now be supplied in the market. Now this is the diagram for market equilibrium. Let us see how do we read and interpret this diagram. So in the initial scenario, this is the point of equilibrium. This is the price at equilibrium labeled as PE, and this is the quantity at equilibrium labeled as QE. When the supply increases, you would see a rightward shift in the supply curve. So in this case, the supply curve is shifting to the right from S to S1. Now, in this case, it is very much evident that this is the new equilibrium that has been attained in the market, and at this equilibrium, the price has gone down from PE to P1 and quantity has increased from QE to Q1. Let us see what has happened in between this entire change and how this change came to be. So when the supply increases, it is shifting to the right from S to S1. It indicates that now more is being supplied at the original price. So this is the original price at PE. We have this much that is getting supplied more in the market. So at this level, this is the quantity demanded and this is the quantity supplied. You can clearly see that quantity demanded is far smaller than the quantity supplied, causing something called as an excess supply in the market. So whenever there is an excess supply in the market, it would put a downward pressure in the prices. So the prices in the market would go down. Now what will this reduction in price do? The first thing is that it would signal the buyers that the commodity is now more affordable and more people would be willing to buy the commodity. So quantity demanded would go up. How do we see that? We see that by an extension on the demand curve. This is the extension. It has gone downwards from point E to point M. So when the supply curve shifts to the right, it will send signals to the sellers that there is more of demand in the market for this particular commodity because the price has gone down. So they would be able to sell more at lower prices and check in more profits for themselves. A reduction in price would contract the quantity supplied. So you would see a contraction on the new supply curve. When the buyers and sellers, they act in their own self-interest, this market would attain equilibrium at point M. Corresponding to this point, P1 is the new price which is lower than the previous price. Q1 is the new quantity demanded and supplied in this market which is greater than the previous quantity in the market. So this is how an increase in supply would impact the market equilibrium. So what was the impact on the market equilibrium? Equilibrium decreased from E to M. Equilibrium price also fell from PE P1. However, equilibrium quantity increased from QE to Q1. Before moving on, if you really like my content and if you want me to come up with more such videos, do consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you for your support. Let's move on to the next topic. The next topic is decrease in supply. How it is identified? It is identified by a leftward shift of the supply curve. What are the various factors that would lead to a leftward shift? Factors like an increase in taxes, certain players in the market exiting the market would cause the supply to go down, a sudden increase in the prices of inputs, maybe some changes in the technical front, and because of which the supply has gone down, since not all the firms would be capable of implementing the updated versions immediately. So you would see a reduction in the supply of the given commodity in the market. So you would see a leftward shift of the supply curve. So in this case, you would see the supply curve shifting from S to S1 towards the left. Now this is the original equilibrium in the scenario, which is at point E. PE is the equilibrium price and QE is the equilibrium quantity. So when the supply decreases, it will cause the equilibrium price to go up and quantity to fall down. Why? Because now there is less of the commodity available at the prevailing price, and since less of the commodity is available, buyers would be willing to pay more for it. That would push the prices up. The higher price would signal the buyers that the good is now more scarce and they need to be paying more to acquire the commodity, due to which they may refrain from buying the commodity altogether, which would bring down the quantity demanded, leading to a contraction on the demand curve. So a higher price would also incentivize sellers to produce more of the commodity, and sellers would know that now they can charge more of it. So you would see an extension on the supply curve, on the new supply curve, like this here. Okay. So both these movements would keep going in the market until a new equilibrium point, which is N, is attained. So this signaling system will help ensure that the good is allocated to those who are ready to pay for it the most, or who are ready to pay for it a higher price. So technically a decrease in supply is not that efficient as far as allocation of resources is concerned, because the good would be allocated to those who are willing to pay more for it rather than who need it most. The higher price would also make it difficult for all the consumers who are in the low income category to afford the commodity. When there is a decrease in supply, it would lead to rationing of the commodity. This means that there is not much of the commodity that is available in the market. Buyers would not be able to get it at all. Higher prices can limit the availability of the product, but they might not guarantee that everyone can get the product. So some buyers could still be left without it. So that's how the new equilibrium in the market would be attained. So when the supply decreases, equilibrium rises from E to N. Equilibrium price rises from PE to P1, and equilibrium quantity falls from QE to Q1. So this is the overall impact of a decrease in supply on market equilibrium price and quantity. Alright students, before I end the video here, this is a practice scenario for you. So there is a sudden change in the production cost for smartphones. This is what you are supposed to look at. You need to identify the impact on market equilibrium, find out what signals that it is sending to the buyers or sellers, whether there is excess or scarcity in the market. What are the various incentives for sellers? You need to come up with creative strategies that businessmen, policymakers or government could adopt in response to the changes that has occurred in supply because of the given scenario. This will give you a more deeper understanding of how the diagram could be made. What are the various things that you need to pay attention to while drafting your answers. Alright, this is it for today. I'll meet you in another video with another topic. Take care. Bye now.